Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Faith Over Fear podcast. So today we have a very special guest, and this guest is very close to my heart. And I'm really excited to have her on because we've talked about her before a lot. I always bring her up because this is my person that I'm always talking to about everything. So let's introduce her.
Hi guys, my name is Valeria, and I'm Crystal's sister.
Yes, she's my little sidekick.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited too because I want to hear like your walk. Like I feel like we've already heard Crystal's walk, and I'm excited to hear like your POV, your own personal relationship with God. And then you guys are how many years apart?
2?
Yeah.
I'm 22 and she's 20.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
So it's like close.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I feel like you guys are so different. Like, at least in, like, my POV, like, I feel like you guys are so different, but at the same time, like, the same. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? But, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I've been here for her whole entire life, but she hasn't been here for
She's-
my whole entire life.
That's funny. That's so true.
It gets you thinking, huh?
Bro, it's only 2 years.
Anyways, I have a question for you, and it's gonna make you think a lot. What is your story?
So I would like to start off with when I was younger. Around, let's say, like 12. I guess I started to, I don't know, I'm about to cry.
It's okay. We always cry.
So when I was 12, I feel like I was, I guess, self-aware of my body. So I feel like my story has to do a lot with like body dysmorphia. So I feel like I turned to working out a lot. So I feel like working out was my escape. And I feel like in a Mexican household, you're always compared to
Mhm.
someone else, either your siblings or cousins. So I feel like, and they always make nicknames, you know, like gorda or whatever. And I feel like it seems so like light. But when you're introduced to it from such a young age, it gets to you when you start gaining like conscience, you know, when you start, I guess, like opening up more to the world and learning more. So I feel like it was around that age, middle school age, where it like hit, you know? So I started working out. I would run outside a lot. And at one point, I started going to the gym with my sisters. But I feel like at one point, it was too much, you know?
Right.
So I feel like God was always, we grew up in church. So God was always there for me. Like, I would always talk to God. I feel like I always, instead of having like a human person to go to, it was always God, you know? So I feel like my relationship with God was always like firm, I guess I would say. And so I feel like I would always turn to him, and I feel like I don't know, like maybe like 16, 17, maybe even 18. I think it was was it 18 or 19?
I think it might have been 18 because I was like 20,
Yeah. I feel like it was when
21.
I really turned to God. And I started reading my Bible because, as Crystal had told y'all, like, we left church once my dad passed. And we came back not because of me, but, like, I was the one who initiated it. And I feel like it all had to do with, like, the whole childhood of the body dysmorphia. So with having body dysmorphia, it pushed me closer to God. And I feel like around 18, 19, I would say I just left it to God. And I started reading my Bible because I feel like I was always self aware of like good and bad. So I feel like once we got out of church, like me and Crystal were drinking and smoking, but I knew it wasn't right. And I knew I didn't want that for me for the future. So there was a time where I was like, I don't want that, you know? And I knew God was always there. So I feel like I started reading my Bible. I didn't understand it, but I was like,
It was La Reina Valera in Spanish. So you can imagine,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I lean more towards English. So
Yeah.
it was weird, but
it was so random.
yeah. And I feel like it was weird because no one in our house was like reading or like God centered, you know? So I feel like I just did it on my own. And at the moment, I had a boyfriend, and I feel like I would go to him more than like Crystal. I wouldn't say God because I feel like I always had God. Like I would always talk to God. So I feel like more on a personal stuff, I would go to him. But I feel like I got to a point where I was growing with God, and he wasn't a believer. So I knew I had to like end it. But I feel like aside from that, I feel like I was damaging him because I wasn't healed. So I was like, this has to end from like both ways, you know, because I was damaging him and he wasn't a believer. So I introduced him to God, and then shortly after I ended it with him, and then I feel like me and Crystal got like locked in with God. But I feel like, yeah.
When you would go to him, it's because like I was not available because I was so like invested in everything that I was doing that I was not there with for her because I was not too far gone, but I was like not.
Like you were still like in your own world.
Yeah,
and,
like
you know.
I wasn't where she was going, you know? And it's also amazing to see how you chose that.
Yeah.
Like obviously God was tugging at our family's hearts, but he started with you. And that's crazy because you were like 18, 19. Like I feel like it's hard to leave all the vices and it's hard to leave all of that behind, you know, but coming from somebody that's like way younger, like you'd think that if anything, she'd be the one that would be like, oh, let's go party, you know? But it was the exact opposite. And I feel like, honestly, the gym kind of does that. Like it builds your discipline in a way, you know? And I feel like because you wanted to be healthy, you wanted to be, you know, that kind of did it for you. Because I feel like también me, when I started going to the gym, I was still like doing other things, but then shortly after is when God kind of like woke me up.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like you're locking in physically, but then like like the physical and the spiritual kind of go together in a way.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. That is so true because like I'm thinking back whenever I was 18, 19, and I'm just kind of like, you know, it's beautiful to hear that you didn't have to go through like what I went through, if that makes sense, you know? Like I was, and at that time, I feel like I made so many mistakes where I hit rock bottom whenever it came to relationships, whenever it came that, you know, I was overcome by the voices, you know, of the world, the desires of the world, and I wasn't locked in, you know, in or aligning myself with God. Like I was still going into the church, but I feel like I didn't have that moment of like revelation of conviction. And so to hear that from someone that, you know, like I guess you can say you're a testimony that you don't have to wait to get older for God to convict you, for you to choose God, and for you to be like, you know what, I'm going to silence these voices and I'm going to listen to God's voice.
Yes.
So I wanted to kind of like ask you for like those that maybe like are, you know, around your age, maybe like high schoolers, maybe 18, 19 to 20, because even personally, like I have a younger brother that he's 19, so I feel like maybe if it's not you personally that is around that age range, but you might have a sibling, you might have a cousin, a friend that you want to help out. Is there like anything that maybe any tips that you're like, you know what, this helped me out? Like, like anything you want to say?
Well, I feel like just coming to God and reading the Bible, although it doesn't make sense at first, it helps you, although you think it doesn't. Because at
Yes.
first, like, when I started reading the Bible, sometimes I would just do it out of a routine
Mm-hmm.
because it was something I would do before bed. But God was definitely working.
And I feel like that's how it is when you start reading the Bible. Like, you don't really you understand, but you don't understand what you like are aware that you need to understand in a way, you know? So, but God starts working. Like, as soon as you start calling out to him and like reading, like he starts working. And it's like eventually, like, it starts making sense along the way. But I feel like because you started reading the Bible, like, God gave you the conscience to be like, I need to leave this relationship because I am hurting him and he is not helping me grow.
Yeah.
And I feel like it started because you started with the Bible. I also love this story. I want you to share with everybody. When you started reading the Bible, did you leave everything behind or how did it go?
No, I actually.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. It's because there's a story where we were at, it was my brother's birthday and we were all drinking. And I remember I told Valeria, I was like, come on, drink. And she's like, no. And I was like, you're lame. I was so messed up. Like, I'm sorry. But I was like, come on, you're lame. And I kind of made her feel like, I'm sure you didn't feel bad, but I was being kind of like pushy, you know? But yeah, I wanted to say that. Like, how did it happen for you? Like, did you leave everything or what happened?
Well, I feel like drinking wise, I feel like the drinks weren't like your favorite drinks ever.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't drink because I would like the drink. I would drink to get drunk. And then, like, after the hangovers or whatever weren't like your best feeling. So I feel like that is why I stopped drinking because I was like, oh, well, I guess God was also working.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I was like, I don't even like it. Like, only to the point where you get drunk. But leading up to getting drunk, your like stomach hurts before and then you're drunk. So I was like, and there's no point. Like, you're just drunk for a few hours and then it's over.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why I stopped. But I think I would vape, and that was the last thing that I let go of. And I would read my Bible and vape. Like, my vape was right beside my Bible, and I would hit it after until the desire of that went away. And it was because I was reading the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful because I feel like many people think that, oh, I need to let this go before
Yes.
I go to
Yeah.
God. And I feel like, again, you're a testimony to show where it's like, no, like God wants you as you are.
He meets
Just
you where
go,
you are.
Yeah, he meets you where you are and he just wants you to come to him.
Mhm.
And then, like, slowly but surely, you will start realizing that things are not hitting you the same.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because you're allowing God to go in you and just like clean you up, cleanse you, change your mindset, change your desires, and, you can kind of like, and then it will be easier because if you try to wait for it to be out, if you try to use your own strength, then you can always fall back to it.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? But if you let God, then it's going to be something permanent. It's going to be something firm.
Yeah.
And then you're building your foundation on a firm, ground.
And I feel like many people try to stop on their own understanding and they try to like put up this front, but then I feel like that's why we fall back
Yes.
because it's not genuine. It's
Yeah.
not like real. It's just like I'm going to try to stop on my own understanding. And the Bible says, lean not on your own understanding. Like, obviously, if you start seeking God, you're not just going to stop doing all these things like that. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really important that when you do start seeking God, like, come to him as you are, be real, be yourself, and God will work. Like, that's what he does. And he took that vices away. I love that story because many people probably feel guilty and they're like, oh, well, I can't read the Bible, I'm still vaping, or I can't read the Bible, I'm still getting high, but it's like, read the Bible,
Yes.
go to church,
Amen. Yeah.
and seek him and just let him work, let him cook.
Let him cook. cute, right? Crispy, like you said last time.
What is
Crispy.
crispy? Yeah, no, but it's true. Like, God, if God is tugging at your heart and you feel like you're in a place where you feel guilty, because I feel like the devil uses guilt a lot and shame,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I get that because we all go through it, you know? But don't listen to the devil. Don't listen to the doubt. Don't listen to the guilt. Run to God.
Yes.
And that is when God is going to give you peace and he's going to let you go. And that's the thing. We all go through our own process. Like, there can be someone that's in a deeper process or a different level in their life, and they can say something to you, but just because that's working for them where they're at right now doesn't mean that it's going to work for you where you are right now. Because if you're barely coming into the church and you're still doing these things, like, obviously what this person is doing is not going to work for you because it's just two different things, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why we emphasize that it is a personal relationship with God, because it is, you know, we're all on our own walk. We're all on our own lane. And the more that we seek God, the more that he starts changing us and transforming us and moving us, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what he did with you. So it's so
Yeah.
beautiful to like hear your story, and it's just comes to tell you like you don't have to wait a certain age to be like, you know what, this is when I'm gonna get transformed. Like, you got transformed at God's timing.
Yes.
And that is beautiful.
And it's so amazing because I feel like if you look at us, you wouldn't think that, like, oh, it started with Valeria, you know?
Right.
But it really did. Like, I told y'all that I walked into her room once and she was reading the Bible and I felt so awkward. I was like, what is she
And I
doing?
love that because I feel like maybe in many families, some family members go because their siblings are going.
Mhm.
And then they leave the church. Well, I need to leave the church too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you didn't have some, but you need, like, even though you guys are siblings, you guys are still independent and salvation is still independent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it is like a beautiful testimony to show that what my family is doing isn't necessarily the correct thing to do. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
sometimes they're like, oh, it's family. Like, my sister is the one that's telling me to do it, so it's not wrong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, like, you know, I feel like it comes to show that salvation is individual. And if it's
Mhm.
something that's not the popular thing in your family or in your friend group, just do it. You know what I mean? Because then one day you're going to be the one influencing them.
Yep.
And that's what happened here.
Yes. And it's amazing. And I love it because I feel like it also comes to show that it is important to have somebody to keep you accountable or to somebody you walk with, you know, like,
Yeah.
yes, Christian friends are important, but it has to be the right people, you know, because I mean, there's some Christian friends that just bring comfort out of you, but I feel like me and Valeria, we're very real with each other. We're very straightforward. And if I like something, I like something. And if she likes something, she likes something, you know? And I feel like her doing that, like, obviously I knew right from wrong too, you know? I was just in an addiction and, you know? And God tugged at her first, but she was the right person because we have been there through everything, you know. And once she started getting closer to God, I was like, what am I doing with myself?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing with myself?
Yeah.
You know? And that was the push that I needed to be like, let's go. And then I feel like when I took off, we both took off because, like, I'm out there, I'm loud. Like, if I was loud about my sin, I'm going to be loud about my God, you know? So that's how we both just took off. But I feel like it is important to have that accountability partner, but just make sure that it's somebody who's gonna call you out and tell you what you don't want to hear, you know, because you have no idea how many times either of us goes through something and we want to be petty and she's like, that's petty. Or I'm like, that's petty, you know? And it's like, well, I could just get mad at her and be like, what, you know, like, because we're human, we're flesh, but like I need that. I need that to keep me in check, you know?
Yeah.
And it could be a sibling or it can be a mentor, somebody that's older, but just somebody that, I don't know, it's important to not get butthurt either when you are corrected, you know?
Yeah, like to keep in mind that it's going to be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they want the best for you. And I feel like it's so easy to just want to hear what you want to hear or allow, or even for you to tell them like, oh, because I don't want to hurt their feelings. You know what I mean? But it's like, we're vessels. And we
Yes.
need to be obedient to what God says, you know. Obviously in
Mhm.
order, obviously don't tell them like harshly, like, oh, you're doing this wrong. Like
Yeah.
you have to like also convict
We're
yourself.
still learning
Wait,
that.
what's going on
We're
there?
still
But I
we're
feel
still
like
learning
it's
to be
different
gentle.
'cause
I
we're
was gonna
siblings.
and I was going to ask that, like, since you two are siblings, what's going on in the household? Like, do you guys get along really good? Is there maybe arguments here and there, or like, because you guys are so close in age that like, it can either be one or the other. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
I feel like there's good days and bad days.
Right.
It can be hard because we're both walking our walk with God.
Yeah.
So sometimes we can get prideful and be like,
Right.
"Well, you're out of pocket," you know,
Right.
and then we're like, "Well, you know."
Yeah. And that's where like the siblings come in, where it's like I
Yeah.
need to,
But
like,
I feel
yeah.
like we're used to the harsh words because
Yeah.
that's how we were brought up.
Yeah.
So when she comes at me harshly, I don't like get in shock
Right.
because I expect it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I feel like we're both growing to be gentle with
Yes.
each other.
So it's hard. And sometimes I'm trying to be gentle and she's not trying to be gentle and it's like
Who's the most sensitive one that you may think like, oh, this person is like,
I feel like we're both sensitive in our own way. Like if
Okay.
you hit the right spot,
Yeah.
I'm more sensitive, and
Okay.
if you hit the other spot, she's more sensitive.
I feel like we both look very like rough and like, you know, but we're
Yeah.
crybabies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like it's cuz the good is really good. Like it's really good and we help each other grow a lot. I feel like the only reason we even are where we are right now is because we're constantly
Yes.
sharpening each
Yeah.
other. Like
That's beautiful.
24/7, literally.
Beautiful.
And we're calling each other out and we're like figuring things out together, you know? And it's amazing to have and I'm so blessed. But the bad is really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like-
feel like that's how it is with siblings, because sometimes like whenever we want to hurt you, we want to hurt
Yeah.
you. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like,
But it's worse because we're like in the church, so we call out like
oh yeah.
sometimes we're literally rebuking each other.
Oh, at church.
No, at home. And that's like insane, you know? Like,
But I feel like that's what I feel like rebuking should be more out there because I feel like
Yeah.
that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true.
And I feel like it's not talked about a lot.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
feel like that's what you're supposed to be doing.
That's true, because like with my younger brother, our arguments are not like, I feel like if I would tell you my arguments, you would be like, well, we've never done that to each other. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We've never, maybe, I don't know about words, but I feel like it's like different because it's like, at least with us, como que, oh, like at least with us, like God kind of like limits us and
Mhm.
protects us.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But with like, if you're dealing with someone that isn't, you know, like he doesn't measure himself, he's just gonna go at it until like he hurts you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if you don't mind me asking, like, you know, how are you guys with your older siblings? Because you're the youngest, you're the second youngest, and you still have two older
Mhm.
siblings.
Honestly, I feel like we inspired them.
Yeah.
I feel like we did
Yeah.
inspire them. But I feel like it gets hard because sometimes we mess up because we're human
Yeah.
and then they call us out like,
Yeah.
oh, aren't you like in church?
Yeah.
And that's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of annoying. It hits a nerve.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, you just have to be more understanding
Mhm.
of where they're at and where
Yes.
you're at, and just learn how to have a neutral ground with
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been easier for her than for
Yeah.
me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I bumped heads a lot with my oldest sister cuz we're kind of similar in like how we are. So we just clash a lot, but I feel like it was harder for me to understand. And now I feel like I understand more, you know, and I know sometimes I choose to speak instead of be quiet because I can't help it,
Yeah.
you know, but I feel like I'm a lot better at it now than I
Yeah.
was at first.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good because I
Yeah.
feel like
It's a process.
yeah, exactly. Like it's all a process. Wow, that's good. And like, you know, obviously you guys are a sister duo, and you guys are not just sister duo in life, but also on social media.
Mm.
You guys have your Instagram page.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about that. How did it started? Why did you guys come up with it? What's the purpose of it?
Well,
What
I
do
feel like when we started, we were both weren't working. So,
Right.
and I feel like Krista always wanted to do social media
Mhm.
like on her own.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, whatever. Like, we
Yeah.
can just start something. I mean, we're always together and
Yeah.
we're funny. So
Yeah.
I was like, I guess we can start something, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like Crystal pushed it more. but I'm just in there.
She's just there for the vibes. She's there for the free coffee.
For real.
No, I'm kidding. But well, it's something that like she said, I wanted to do, and then when I asked her and she was down, I was like, well, let's do it before she changes her mind.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy because we kind of had a confirmation. Obviously, we prayed about it, and the thought just kept coming into my mind, like, make the page,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll make the page. And I was thinking, what should our profile picture be? And then the picture that we took, it's currently our profile picture. But the picture that we took for my birthday that previous year popped into my mind. And then Valeria posted a repost of the post because it was on her memories.
Yeah.
She just randomly posted it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, tell me why that's the picture that I wanted to be our profile picture.
Wow.
And it just made sense.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
did it.
Okay, and so they can only find you guys on Instagram?
Right now,
Right now?
yes.
I'm
Okay.
pushing TikTok, but she's not starting the page.
Yeah, no, it's because it's a lot. And I feel like now that I have a job, we have less time together.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do want to do TikTok and eventually YouTube, but it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys want to follow them, I think it's chris.val.
Yeah.
But we'll have their Instagram down below so you guys can, follow and see their coffee reviews.
The reason we did Chris Val is because my mom, when she calls us, because there's 5 of us, so there's always like Krilis or like Val Chris or Chris Val. So when we were thinking of our name, it's like Chris Val.
Yeah.
And then the other day, Valeria was like, she texted me. She's like, my mom just called us our username. My mom just called me our username. And it was funny. But that's why we did it, because it's like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just funny. But yeah. I want to ask you something else, though, before we go. You got baptized when you were fully locked in with God. I know usually people do that, but my case was very different. So I want to ask you how that was for you, because obviously my experience was nothing like yours.
Well, I feel like I was fully locked in, but I feel like I was also like fresh. Like I didn't know as much as I know now. So I feel like still going back, I feel like not that I wish I would have waited, but I wish I would have understood more. But I feel like it was perfect. Like I knew that I wanted to do it and I knew why I was doing it. So I feel like when I did it, I wasn't going back.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no way for me that I was going to go back. Like that wasn't a choice anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I waited because we were like in church for a while. I would say like a month or so.
Yeah, like maybe 2 months.
Yeah. When I decided to get baptized. And I feel like I prayed and I was like, I don't want to do it alone. Like, it's kind of intimidating for me because I feel like I'm more to myself. So I feel like going in front of the whole church, they watched you grow up. They know, like, your dad passed. So it's like, whoa, It was kind of out of nowhere. Like, he didn't know I wanted to get baptized. So when he told me, I was like, yeah, let's go. So me and my brother and his wife got baptized together, and I feel like it was perfect. I'm glad that I did it when I did it.
Mm-hmm. And you waited for a while, and I feel like that's really important because I feel like many people feel it and they jump the gun,
Yeah.
And what were you doing before you got baptized that made you so confident in the fact that you weren't going back?
Well, I feel like it was how I was raised up. Like, I always knew God was the way. Like, he was the way to salvation, to eternal life. So I feel like it was just something I knew I had to do to go to heaven.
Yes.
So I feel like it was just a matter of time, a matter of, like, making the full decision, I guess I would say, of this is not the world isn't an option anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's fully God.
And I feel like it's really important that you did sit with it for a while, because I feel like many people nowadays, we feel it and we do it emotionally, and then I feel like this is a process. When we get baptized, everything is really, really good for like a month or two. And then the trials and the tribulations hit. And if you don't have a firm foundation, that's where you fall.
Yeah.
And then the moment that you mess up, you feel so much guilt, so much shame. And then you're like, well, I already messed up. Like I might as well go all in. You know, like I got to a point like that. And it's kind of crazy because, I mean, we're supposed to be equipped for this, you know? And I feel like before you got baptized, you were putting in the work.
Yeah.
You were reading and you were building your relationship with God so that when you did get baptized, there was literally no going back. You made sure that it wasn't emotional.
Yeah.
And that's really beautiful. I still remember, dude, when she got baptized, she got out and she changed and she just came straight to me and just gave me a hug and it was just so emotional. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Yeah, like your heart is just so pure. Like, just like your energy, your spirit, like it's so humbling. Like it's so beautiful to see, and like it's, I'm very privileged to have both of you in my life. You know what I mean? Because I'm learning from both of you guys, and I'm just super excited to see where God takes y'all because He literally has big plans for the both of you together and also separately. So praise God for that.
Praise God.
They're really awesome guys. So if you want to follow them in their journey, go ahead and do that. But they also have their individuals Instagrams as well. But yeah, we're super grateful that you accepted this invitation of being with us. It was amazing. It was something that I learned, from your testimony as well. And it's something that, kind of put me in that perspective and took me back to whenever I was 18, 19, and 20. You know what I mean? Where it's like, whoa, like it's such a hard time of our lives, but I'm super grateful that you had God. You know what I mean? You had God, you have your family, you have your church right now. And yeah, so, but I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add.
I don't think so.
All right, guys, this is the end of the episode. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye,
Bye guys.